Okay, can you all see the slides? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Just hold on. Okay, so in the last two class, okay, before starting, I want to ask, there is one student called Likha Kato. Do anybody know her? Do you know what is, so she did not turn up for the assignments. So anybody knows about her?
So actually, I know him, but I didn't talk to him regarding this. I will talk to him and let you know about it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you can do that, it would be better, because I do not know whether she knows that the classes are started or not, because I think all of you are joining except few. So I can also send one email, but everybody turned up for the assignments. So that means that everybody knows that the classes are going on except Likha Kat. So yeah, if you can just contact him once, it would be good. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So in the last two classes, we have seen addition of alcohol, addition of thiol, mainly these two actually in the last two classes. Okay. So in this class, we will see addition of hydrogen cyanide, bisulfite, and hydrides, and also other metal organometallic complexes. Okay. So first is HCl. Can anybody tell me HCl is a gas or liquid or solid? Can you tell me?
It's a liquid.
Is it liquid? Okay. So no, it's not correct actually. Like HCl,
It's a
hydrogen,
gaseous.
yeah, it is a gas. So HCl, it is actually a gas, but it always combines with water and then it becomes liquid. So whatever HCl you use, it is basically nothing but it is in water. But actual HCl will be gas. Similarly, hydrogen cyanide is also a gas, and which is very poisonous, as you can guess. It is really very poisonous. So it is actually a gaseous substance. Okay, but it is also a very weak acid and weak nucleophile in absence of base. If we don't put any base, then it does not dissociate much, mainly in gaseous phase. Similar like HCl, if it is in gaseous phase, its acidity is not that much. You know that, right? Similarly for HCl. So if it is as such in its form, HCl form, then it is actually a very weak acid, also a very weak nucleophile. But if you add a base, what this base does is it takes that proton H plus, it takes the proton, yeah, to make BH plus and Cn minus. So this Cn minus is actually more nucleophilic, okay, which is the actual nucleophile, which actually reacts to the carbonyl compound. So it requires a base to catalyze this reaction for the addition of hydrogen cyanide. So now if we add this base plus Cn minus, what will happen? Let's say we take this carbonyl compound, we take the cyanide anion, then it forms a cyanohydrine. Of course, there is no OH yet, but a cyanohydrine precursor. This is called cyanohydrine. So this is the intermediate. Now, this reaction is highly reversible in nature, and this is also slow process. This is a redetermining step, and this is also highly reversible in nature, because if there is no proton, then this O negative would like to come down and cyanide would leave to come back into this the carbonyl compound. But if you add that the acid, the BH plus, which is already there in the medium, then this O minus takes this proton to form this OH. Then it is stabilized. Okay. So it also depends on a base. If that base cannot provide this H plus, then also this will be reversible. Okay. So the first step, cyanide minus attack here to make the O negative. Then this O negative takes a proton from that the base which took that proton from HCN. So it takes that proton to form the base. So this is the cyanohydrate. This is how it forms the cyanohydrate. Now cyanohydrins has a lot of advantage, a lot of utility. One such reaction is its reduction. We will see that this reduction today itself, later slides. So if you take lithium aluminum hydride, it reacts to C triple bond N. And if you take it in an alcohol medium, then and if you then add alcohol to quench this reaction, it will form CH2NH2. Now, where from these hydrogens are coming, where from these hydrogens are coming, it actually varies. These two hydrogen comes from lithium aluminum hydride, this hydrogen, and NH2 hydrogen are coming from the alcohol. How do you prove that? You take lithium aluminum D4 instead of H4, take D4 and take R dust OH. So then this D will be visible in this carbon here, and this proton will be visible here. So from that you can say that these hydrogens are coming from the lithium aluminum hydride reagent, and these hydrogens are coming from the R dust OH. This also establishes their mechanism actually. Okay. And if you take LiAlD4 and R dust OD, then you will see that these two proton will be converted with D, will be exchanged with D. These two will also be D because all are actually deuterated. Clear? We'll see this mechanism a little bit later. Okay, how this lithium aluminum hydride work, we are going to see that. So this is all about this cyanide addition. These are not much. You will see this example in the Peter Sykes book. Peter Sykes book is a good example, a good reference book for this reaction. Then next is the sodium bisulfite addition. So if we take sodium bisulfite, what is the active species that react? Like for HCN, we saw that the cyanide minus reacts in presence of a base. But what will happen in case of sodium bisulfite? So sodium bisulfite is basically the salt. So first it will dissociate. First equilibrium will be dissociation of sodium plus and bisulfite minus. And then this bisulfite dissociates into again to H plus and sulfite minus. Okay, this sulfite 2 minus is actually the active nucleophile in this case. Okay, why is it active? Let's see this structure. So this is basically the sulfite SO3. In this case, you have one double bond O, one single bond, and two negative charge. These two negative charge is constantly in the equilibrium. In the resonance with this double bond O. So the moment this negative charge comes here, these lone pairs that is present on sulfur becomes very much active, that it wants to give the lone pairs. It wants to react as a nucleophile. Okay. Secondly, you can also say that there is O negative charge. Why O negative is not attacking and sulfur is attacking? So the answer is that O negative, oxygen has high electronegativity than sulfur. So oxygen does not want to give away its lone pairs. Okay, even if it has the negative charge, it always wants to keep with it. Sulfur, it has a big size, so its hold on this lone pairs are a bit less. So it wants to give away this lone pairs earlier, okay, easily. So that is why the lone pair on sulfur is more nucleophilic than the lone pairs present on oxygen. Okay, so that is why the reaction happens through this sulfur center. Clear? Okay, so now we have this carbonyl compound and we have this sulfite. So this bond comes, then this lone pair attacks to this carbon center. Okay, this bond comes. So you form this R2CO minus and sulfite minus. Then you also have this bisulfite in the medium, or maybe this proton in the medium. So this O minus takes this proton to form this OH minus and SO3 minus. So this is your addition product, and you have Na plus from here. So there will be Na plus. Okay. So this is how the bisulfite reacts to the carbonyl compound. Okay. These examples will not come very frequently, but it will come very rarely. Okay. So just read once how this works, and you will understand how this sulfate chemistry works. For that knowledge, that much you can read it now. Okay. Now, what about the reactivity of the carbonyl compound towards cyanide and bisulfite? If I ask you the question that what would be the reactivity of a carbonyl compound towards cyanide minus and towards bisulfite minus, if this R group is small, so which one would be more faster? Any idea?
The one where R group is small will be faster.
No, I mean, let's say there is a two ketone. In one case you have acetone, in one case you have acetone, in another case you have di-tertiary butyl ketone. Okay, one case you have dimethyl ketone, in one case you have di-tertiary butyl ketone. So which one will be faster for cyanide attack? Which one will be faster for sulfite attack?
Sir, for sulfite attack, acetone will be faster. Dibutyl ketone will form sterically hindrance.
Yeah. Okay. So then.
And for HCN also, nucleophilic attack will be slower for that tertiary butyl.
Yeah. Yeah. You are. When this R group is smaller, when these R groups are smaller, then you will not see much difference in terms of reactivity of the cyanide minus and sulfite. Okay. If these R groups are smaller, then they can attack to this carbonyl center almost equally, almost similarly. But if these R groups are larger, then what happens? This cyanide, which is a linear, which is much smaller, can attack carbonyl compound much faster than the sulfite, because sulfite is a much larger and bulkier. So they cannot react efficiently if these R groups are bulkier. But if it is cyanide, then it can attack very easily. Okay, that is the difference. Okay. So this is the cyanide and bisulfite. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. If not, then we will proceed to the next one, and that is very, very crucial. And this is addition of hydride ions. Okay. So please understand this part carefully. This is also going to be there for a long time. I mean, if you are doing masters and PhD or research, this knowledge will be there everywhere. Okay. So even if you don't do research and join company or something, then also this knowledge is very crucial. So please understand this part very carefully. Okay. So addition of hydride ion. Okay. There are many hydride ion donating reagents. Two of the most important are sodium borohydride and lithium aluminum hydride. There are many others. We will talk about at least 2 or 3 different hydride donors now, but remember these two. These two are the most important ones, which almost every chemical lab has. Okay, if you go to any chemical lab in IIT Kharagpur, you will find these two chemicals are present. Okay. Now, how do they work and where do we use them? So basically, this can reduce any sort of, let's say, double bond or triple bond. You can reduce them by using these two or maybe some other hydride donors. Okay. So mainly for the reduction of carbonyl or other functional groups or C double bond C or C double bond N, this kind of functional group we reduce using sodium borohydride and lithium aluminum hydride. Okay, now let's understand their mode of reaction, their reactivity, and their properties in that aspect. Okay. So as you know, boron and aluminium, they fall in the same column in the periodic table, and that is the P1, 2s2, 2p1, that column. Boron, indium, gallium, boron, aluminium, gallium, indium, thallium. That is that column. Okay, if you see the periodic table. So they have 2s2, 2p1 electron. Okay. Now, if you make them as hybrid orbital, so like you have done for carbon, no? How CH4 is formed. So carbon is 2s2, 2p2, but in hybrid orbital it formed 2s1 and 2p3, means in as a hybrid orbital, and then all 4 hydrogen can come and form 4 sigma bond. You have all studied that in your higher secondary. In case of boron, you have just 2p1. Now if I make a hybrid orbital, what will happen? You are familiar with this kind of concept, right? I think most of you are familiar. If you have any trouble understanding, just ask me questions. If not now, later also. It would be fine. So in the hybrid orbital, you have 2s1, 2p2. So basically you have 2s2 and 2p1, but you just make it a hybrid orbital. And then make total 3 electrons you have. One here, and one here. So then one you have vacant orbital. Okay. So here it can make a sigma bond with hydrogen. This one can make a bond with hydrogen, and this one can make a bond with hydrogen. So it can make 3 sigma bonds with 3 hydrogens. So basically it can form BH3 or ALH3. But because this orbital is vacant, they are electronically deficient in nature. They are highly electron deficient in nature. Boron is called electron frustrated element. Okay, so basically they are lack in the electron. That is why you remember in the the last semester I told BH3 always remained as B2H6 as a dimer, because they form like a dimeric form. Okay, to share the same orbital by both of them. You will learn those things in your inorganic classes. They will teach these things really in depth. Okay. So what they do is, you have 3 electron and then it forms 3 bond with 3 hydrogen atoms. So you form BH3, but then you have 1 orbital vacant. Here one of the hydride ion can be accommodated usually. So that is why it easily forms BH4, then minus, that minus is stabilized by the sodium. Same with lithium, same with aluminium. It also takes up 1 hydride and also stabilized by this lithium positive to make it electroneutral. This part is clear, understood? So what I said, that boron and aluminium falls in P1 column in the periodic table. They have 2s2, 2p1, so total 3 electron. If you make the hybrid orbital, it can bond with 3 hydrogen, then 1 orbital is vacant. In that orbital, they can take up 1 hydride ion. That is how they form this BH4 minus or AlH4 minus. First point. Second point. Now aluminium comes lower than the boron. Okay. So which one is more electronegative? Of course, boron is more electronegative. Okay, because towards down the periodic table, your electronegativity goes down. So boron is more electronegative than aluminium. That means boron will hold this or capture this hydride more strongly than aluminium. Okay, so aluminium, in case of aluminium, this hydride that is here will be loosely bound, but in case of borohydride, this hydrogen is strongly bonded because boron is more electronegative than aluminium. Got it? One more time. Boron is more electronegative than aluminium. That is why this hydride that is connected here is more strongly bonded than the hydride that is connected with aluminium. So this is loosely bonded. Now, if this hydride is loosely bonded with aluminium, then it can be lost very easily. So lithium aluminum hydride can give away the hydride very easily. So this is why lithium aluminum hydride is a strong hydride donor than sodium borohydride. Okay, so lithium aluminum hydride is a strong hydride donor than sodium borohydride. Okay, clear? This part is clear? Okay. Now let's understand the mechanism. Okay, so these are basically, I did a little bit rough work for myself, but for your understanding, I just put it here. Okay, so let's understand the mechanism of their action. How does this work? Let's first understand the lithium aluminum hydride. So this is the stronger hydride donor compared to sodium borohydride. Okay, what do? You take in this case a carbonyl compound. It could be ketone, aldehyde, or ester, or anything. Okay, so you take this carbonyl compound and add AlH4 minus. I mean, lithium plus is also there. So what happens? This hydride, which is loosely bound, will attack to this carbonyl carbon, and this will catch the lithium plus. Okay, so basically it will form RCR, then this H, which is coming from AlH4 minus, and then this O Li plus. Okay, here there is O Li plus. This O Li plus will be then converted or will be then reacted with this. Okay, this one, and then what will form? It will form AlH3. Correct. So if the hydride goes, it goes with the negative charge, so it remains with AlH3. Okay, lithium aluminum hydride, the lithium comes to this oxygen, this hydrogen comes here, and it leaves AlH3. But then this AlH3 again has a vacant orbital. That is why this negative charge O minus Li plus, this negative charge again attacks to this aluminium to satisfy its electron deficiency. Okay, to form OAlH3 minus. Okay, I have done a lot of step jump, but you need to understand. If you do not understand, please ask me. Okay, I will again and again clarify, but please understand. Okay, I will repeat one more time, but let me first finish this one. Okay, so O minus Li plus react again to this AlH3 to form OAlH3 minus. So that means AlH2 and H minus. This H minus will again react another carbonyl carbon. Okay, like the same way. So then there will be now two amount of this R2CHO like this, and there will be AlH2. Then again there will be AlH2 and O this part. So this negative charge will again attack. So similarly there will be four more. I mean, one has done 3 more times it can react. So basically all the hydride are active for this reaction. Okay, all the hydrides are basically possible to be donated for the reduction purpose. So then all the 4 hydrogens will be replaced and it will form Al minus. So instead you write R2CHO, this O whole 4 Al minus. Correct? This much is clear. And then if you quench it with alcohol, okay, if you quench it with alcohol, it will form what? It will just get hydrolyzed here, and instead of Al minus, it will just take a proton, and you will get R2COH and H. So like here, you just add one hydrogen here, and then this O put an H. Clear? Okay, let me again explain. I'm repeating this, the same thing. Okay. What did I say? First, you take a carbonyl compound. Then you take lithium aluminum hydride. Okay. In lithium aluminum hydride, this hydrogen is loosely bound. So this loosely bound hydrogen will be attacked to this carbonyl carbon. This double bond will catch this lithium positive. Okay. So then what you will get? You will get R, C, R, H and O, Li. This lithium, O, Li. Plus AlH3 that is coming from here. Okay. Now AlH3 still have a vacant site, vacant orbital that I showed last slide. So this O negative will attack here to form OAlH3 minus. So that means we can write it AlH2 and H minus. So this H minus can attack to another carbonyl carbon. In the same way, all these hydrogen, there are total 3 hydrogen, can be replaced with this OCr2H. That is what we have written here, R2CHO, whole 4Al. Now this complex can be hydrolyzed in presence of alcohol, or you can add also dilute acid. Generally people use dilute acid to hydrolyze that. If you hydrolyze it, you will get the OH. So this is your reduced product. Okay, everybody understood? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. This is very crucial, understanding this. Okay, and if you understand this mechanism, you can write many examination question papers. Okay, now then what kind of solvent would you choose for this reduction? So generally for this case we do not use polar protic solvent. Polar protic solvent are not used for lithium aluminum hydride. What will happen? This has been used after the reaction. Okay, so they are not taken together. If you take together, something else will happen that we are going to see. In lithium aluminum hydride, these hydrides are more active, that I told you. If it is more active, if you add water, basically you never add water to lithium aluminum hydride, they will catch fire. Okay, if you add water, what will happen? This hydride will take a proton from water and from hydrogen, H2 gas. Okay, that H2 actually catches fire in air. Okay, so if you have a protic solvent, let's say I take methanol and I take lithium aluminum hydride, LiAlH3 and H minus. This H minus will take this proton and it will release H2 gas. Okay. Instead of methanol, you can take any alcohol, you can take water or any hydrogen donating acids. Okay, I mean hydrogen donating substances. Then this aluminum hydride will not act as a nucleophile. Here this hydride is acting as a nucleophile, but if you have an acidic proton, lithium aluminum hydride first will act as a base, very strong base. Then it will act as a nucleophile. Okay, so that is why you need to do this reaction absolutely in inert condition. So people take generally ether like tetrahydrofuran. Tetrahydrofuran is a good solvent for lithium aluminum hydride reduction. People can also take petroleum ether like hexane, heptane, this kind of solvent also, they can also work. Okay. So I hope this part is totally understandable. Again, I am saying, if you have any question, please do not hesitate, ask. However not intelligent this is, no, does not matter. Okay, feel free to ask any questions. Okay, so we have seen how this lithium aluminum hydride works. Now let's see how sodium borohydride works. Okay, so compared to lithium aluminum hydride, sodium borohydride is very weak, correct? It is so weak that it does not like to give its hydride so easily. Okay, that is why you need some kind of agent to activate it so that it can push its hydride for the reaction. For this purpose, generally some sort of polar protic solvents are actually used. Let's say methanol. In this case, what happened? You have this lone pair on this oxygen. These lone pairs coordinate with this boron center, and this hydride then are donated to this carbonyl carbon, and this double bond catch this proton in ON. Okay. So to form this alcohol and BH3 Na plus OMe. Okay. This can again react with another molecule of carbonyl compound to give at least three molecules of actually 4 molecules of this alcohol, and finally it can convert into BOMe whole 3 or BOH whole 3. Okay. So what we see that in case of sodium borohydride, we do need a nucleophilic protic solvent so that that lone pair can be easily donated, which will satisfy the electron deficiency that boron has in its vacant orbital. That can be generated after giving this hydride. After it gives away, the vacant orbital of boron will be immediately filled up with this lone pair. Okay, and then this oxygen can take up this proton. So sodium borohydride can react in methanol or in water, but lithium borohydride does not. Lithium borohydride does not work in methanol or water medium. That will be immediately quenched. That will form hydrogen gas and some lithium salt. Okay, but sodium borohydride can react. Okay, but it does not mean that you cannot keep sodium borohydride in methanol for a long time. So you cannot put, I mean, you can react this sodium borohydride in methanol or water, but you cannot do this reaction in lithium aluminum hydride. Okay. Yeah, that does not mean that the sodium borohydride can be kept in methanol for a long time. No, that also you cannot do. Slowly it will be also decomposed like lithium aluminum hydride, but that decomposition will be very slow. If you put sodium borohydride in water for a long time, it will be slowly it will be decomposed. Okay, but for its reduction reaction, you do need the help of this this kind of solvent. Okay, that is why solvent is very crucial for sodium borohydride. Of course, it is also crucial for lithium borohydride, but in a different way. Okay. Now, can anybody tell me, for if I take 1 mole of lithium aluminum hydride or 1 mole of sodium borohydride, how many moles of carbonyl compound it can reduce? Okay, the question again. Hello, are you here? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So, take 1 mole of sodium borohydride or 1 mole of lithium aluminum hydride, how many moles of carbonyl compound, it can reduce. Any answer?
So NaBH4 will reduce 3 moles of carbonyl compound.
Okay. What about lithium aluminum hydride?
And so in lithium aluminum hydride, it should reduce 4 moles, in my opinion.
Yeah. Actually, in both the cases, yeah. Yeah, actually, in both the cases, yeah, anybody is saying something?
No, sir, I was also saying that it will reduce 4 moles.
Yeah. So actually, both sodium borohydride and lithium aluminum hydride, all the hydrogens can be given away. Okay. But of course, the first hydride donation ability would be much higher, and subsequently, their hydride donation ability will be a bit slower. So if this stoichiometry is maintained, then the reaction time will be a bit longer. Okay, but actually they can give all the 4 hydrogens, all the 4 hydrides. Okay. Okay. Now let's see some of the examples. So for example, let's say you have an aldehyde, OMe, CH2CH2, CHO. What kind of reagent you will take? Okay, this actually I should have blocked. Anyway, so for this kind of aldehyde, you take sodium borohydride. Okay, sodium borohydride can reduce aldehydes very easily, not a problem. What does that mean? Does it mean lithium aluminum hydride cannot be used? No, lithium aluminum hydride can also be used, but where sodium borohydride can react, you don't need to go for lithium aluminum hydride. Okay, because lithium aluminum hydride is a bit costly than sodium borohydride. You would always want to stay to the low cost and also easy to handle. Lithium aluminum hydride is very reactive. Okay, handling is a bit careful. Sodium borohydride you can easily react in room temperature and in ambient condition. So no need for inert atmosphere. Okay, so for aldehyde, sodium borohydride is good enough. You can easily reduce it to form the alcohol. For ketone, yes, ketone also. So as you know, ketone is a bit less reactive than aldehyde. We have discussed those things last class. Ketone, although it is less reactive, still it can react with sodium borohydride, okay, in methanol to form this alcohol. These are aromatic systems. Aliphatic and cyclic ketones can also be reduced by sodium borohydride, okay, in presence of isopropanol to form this cyclohexanol. Now, let me ask you this question. So, what will happen if we start to reduce this compound with sodium borohydride? And if we use lithium aluminum hydride in THF, then what product we will get? Any answer?
So sodium borohydride will only reduce the aldehyde part, and lithium aluminum hydride will reduce both the parts.
Both parts. Yes, correct. So sodium borohydride is good for aldehyde and ketone, but it cannot reduce ester because ester is less reactive than both aldehyde and ketone. That also we discussed because of the lone pair that comes here. It is always in resonance. So the electrophilicity of this carbon is less. So that is why ester carbonyl carbon is much less reactive than aldehyde and ketone. Okay. So that is why sodium borohydride, which is a bit poor reducing agent than lithium aluminum hydride, can reduce only aldehyde but not the ester. But lithium aluminum hydride can reduce both. It can of course reduce aldehyde, it can also reduce ester. Okay. So what would be the product if it reduces ester?
Cool.
Yeah. So finally to alcohol. But what is the intermediate? Anybody? So forget about this part. If it is only ester, if you use lithium aluminum hydride, does it directly lead to alcohol or there is any intermediate?
First aldehyde, then alcohol.
First aldehyde, then alcohol, correct? Yes, yes, that is the thing, and that information will be now required. So as she said, so first if you use sodium borohydride, you get this product. If you use lithium aluminum hydride, you get this product. But lithium aluminum hydride, if you use, it does not directly go from ester to alcohol, but it goes from ester to aldehyde and then from aldehyde to alcohol. Okay. Okay, we will come to that problem little bit later. So this one I hope you remember. How do you reduce this one? This part? We did it in the last class. Anybody else than who answered last time? Anybody else can answer? How did we reduce it?
Protecting the ketone part and reducing it.
Yes, very good. So first, tell me again. Okay.
Protecting the ketone group and then reducing it.
Yes, correct. Perfect. Yes. So first we protect it with a alcohol. So cyclic ketal protection, as you know, normal ketals are not very stable. So cyclic ketal formation is good. And then you reduce it, because then this part will not be reduced with lithium aluminum hydride. Only this ester will be reduced to alcohol. Then use dilute HCl and then you can remove this protection. Okay, so to get this product. Okay, now the problem that we are coming. So let's say we have this compound. Instead, so you have already mentioned that if we take ester and if we reduce it, it does not go to alcohol directly, but it goes to aldehyde in the intermediate. So let's say I want to convert this compound into an aldehyde. Let's say this ketone CH3CO, CH2, CHO. Instead of CH2OH, I want to make it a CHO. How can I do that? Any idea? Sorry, your voice is breaking. I could not hear it. Yeah, tell me again. Hello. Yeah, tell me again.
So could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, my question is.
So can you please repeat the question?
Yeah. So the question is, I want to take this starting material and instead of this product, I want to get CHO here. Here it is CH2OH. I want to get CHO here. So how do we get that?
So use a weaker reducing agent.
Sorry?
Use a weaker reducing agent.
Like, any example? So if you take a weaker reducing agent like sodium borohydride, can it dye? Sorry, dye? You said something?
Dye. There is a reagent
Sir, she means to say title X.
Full name we use.
Yeah. Actually, you are correct. But let me also answer in a way that another student who said that weaker reducing agent. Now, let's say you take a weaker reducing agent, sodium borohydride. First of all, sodium borohydride cannot reduce ester, correct? Second point is, let's say somehow you could reduce this ester to aldehyde. But then let's say few molecules converted from ester to the aldehyde. But then which one is more reactive, your aldehyde or your ester? Aldehyde is more reactive. That will be immediately reacted to form OH, correct? So you cannot change the activity of the reducing agent to make selectively this product. Okay, that is not possible. So you have to select a reducing agent which has only one hydride donor. So in AlH4 we have 4. In sodium borohydride also we have 4. Okay, forget about that because it cannot reduce ester. It can reduce ester. It has 4 hydride. That means it can all the way reduce this ester to the aldehyde alcohol. But somehow if we reduce this 4 hydride to 1 hydride, then what will happen? This 1 hydride will react to this ester to form aldehyde. Okay, that is the strategy here. So one such reagent is called diisobutyl aluminium hydrate. This is the one. Okay, diisobutyl aluminium hydrate. So you have just one hydrate possible here. Okay, so this hydrate can be given here to form this tetrahedral intermediate, and then if you add the acid, then this bond will come and this will be broken, so that you generate this aldehyde. Okay. So what are the reagents we have seen so far? We have seen sodium borohydrate, we have seen lithium aluminum hydrate, we have seen diisobutyl aluminum hydrate, DiBALH, diisobutyl aluminum hydrate. Okay, this is called DiBALH. Okay, there could be another one, sodium hydrate, but sodium hydrate is not actually a hydride donor in the nucleophilic reaction, but sodium hydrate is mostly a base. Okay, so do not say that sodium hydrate can reduce. It generally does not reduce. Okay. Okay, another interesting reducing agent that is called aluminum isopropoxide. Okay. Okay, I think aluminum isopropoxide, this we can learn in the next class. We learn that one because it is little bit we have to learn it in a deeper way. Okay, so then today, is there any more question? Any question? Did you understand all? Okay. So then come back to your assignments. I will just keep this slide. That slide will be taught next class. Okay, then let's come to the assignment. I'll just explain. So please again note these answers from the assignment, and you can keep these answers with you. Maybe some of your friend would need later on, that they would want to check their answers later. So please collect these things. Okay, I think most of you answered it correctly. I would say all of you except 1 or 2. Okay, so yeah, this answer is all for all, it is correct. So in first case it was 120 degree. It should be 120 degree, but it is actually it is 60 degree because it is sp2. So your angle strain is much higher, and in this case this is sp3, so this should be 109 degree 8 minute, but it is actually 60 degrees. So the angle strain is very low. So that is why it wants to come to this product. Okay. For ninhydrin, of course, this carbonyl is more reactive. Everybody has mentioned that. Then this lone pair will react here, attack here to form this OH. And then this intramolecular hydrogen bond, that is crucial for the stability of this product. Okay. So that is why it is getting stabilized. Some of you have mentioned this one, but did not mention, only very few actually, just 2-3 students, you have not shown the hydrogen bonding, but this hydrogen bonding is actually crucial here. In this case also it is the same. This middle carbonyl carbon is most reactive among the 3, and then water can attack and to form this OH. This is also in hydrogen bonding with this carbonyl carbon. Okay. Okay, so that is all. We will have the class on Thursday again, and on Friday we will have a small class test based on this reduction, mainly based on this hydride and hydride donation for that. Okay, so you can prepare a little bit.
Sir, could you please clarify about the labs?
The labs, which
Will
labs
we be
talking about?
conducting or not? Organic lab on Friday.
Yeah. Organic lab. Which one? I mean, are you talking about organic lab 1 or organic lab 2? The second year
Organic
first.
lab, which is in this semester we are having. So, is it going to happen virtually or after coming to the campus?
Can you please tell me who is taking that lab for you this time?
Sir, I think it's you allotted to the lab.
There. Okay.
No, sir. It's Amit Basak. Sir. Amit Basak, sir.
I got it, sir. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, there is some misunderstanding from my side. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, no, it's fine, yeah. So yeah, that lab, first of all, I exactly do not know what is going to happen, because I think there is no decision has been made yet. Some decision came that this could be run online, or second possibility is, if the situation uplifts, then once the student comes back to the campus, then they can run the labs. So to be very honest, I do not have the authority to confirm you whether they will be run or not. Okay, but it came up that there are two possibilities, whether it can be run on online mode, or once the student come back they can be run. That much information I know, but whether the labs will be run or not, I really do not know the answer actually. Okay. Okay, so that is all. We will stop here for today, and we will have the next class on Thursday. But just wait, hold on. Let me take the attendance. Okay, done. So yeah, that's all. So then let's meet on next Thursday for the next session, and then on Friday we'll have a short class.